guys? We are headed to meet up with one of the bros for some lunch. I got some good feedback on some of the past videos, so I really appreciate that. Just want to put that out there. But somebody wanted me to do a ride talking about kind of the ergonomics of this bike and kind of how it feels over a long distance. Just right off the bat, this bike is very aggressive. You're super leaned over, the seat's really hard, your feet are real tucked up under your butt, handlebars are real low. So this is a very aggressive bike, very committed. So just to start, put that out there. I've only ridden this bike about, I've only taken this bike out about maybe 3 or 4 times. And obviously I came from the MT-09, which is a complete opposite riding position as this bike, and I've gotten used to this bike pretty quick. I feel like the riding position, I mean, I've gotten used to the super sport position fairly quickly, I feel like. But that being said, we're just gonna head to meet up with one of the boys for some lunch, and then ride around for a little bit. We'll probably meet up with Tom a little bit later after he gets off work. But other than that, we got about a 30-minute ride to get to the lunch spot, and then we'll go from there. The R1 does very well on the interstate and high speeds. Of course, that's what it's designed for. But the suspension is extremely stiff. So going over, like, this bridge specifically is like really bumpy, and all these bumps, you really feel it on this bike. Every bump you hit, it jolts you a little bit. I'm no professional sport bike rider. I just want to put that out there as well. Full disclaimer, I'm just your average street squid. I'm no professional racer or anything like that. So, you know, take what I say with a grain of salt. I'm just giving you my, my opinion of my experience with this bike. And how I like to ride it and how it feels to me. It's going to be different from person to person, from skill level to skill level. So just keep that in mind. You know, when I'm riding this bike, yeah, like I said, you're extremely committed on this bike, extremely lean forward. So when I'm riding this bike, I try to really focus on squeezing the tank with my legs, keeping my core nice and engaged. Because if you don't and you get lazy, you will get a lot of weight over on your front end and on your hands, and you'll start to kind of get like sore in your back and in your wrists. But like I said, I try to really focus on keeping my legs tight against the tank and my core tight, and that does help with like some of that back soreness. Also, I know that this mic isn't the best. Right now I'm using a Purple Panda with the Insta360. And I know, like, my last video I just posted, that night ride was a little crackly and pretty windy. So I'm looking at getting a better mic to record the rides with. But if you guys have any recommendations on some good microphones, that'll be greatly appreciated, so I can put out some better videos with some better audio. I feel like the visibility on this bike is amazing also, to be honest. Like, being able to see behind you, for me, these mirrors work out really well. I'm probably going to get rid of them though, honestly. Either just put some like mirror block-offs or get some Rizomas. I think those look pretty cool. But other than just the mirrors, like, being able to like turn around and look behind you on both sides, really, for me, the visibility is great. It's better than the MT-09 was, to be honest. It probably has something to do with the position, of course, but this bike really shines. Like with what I'm doing right now, just cruising on the interstate, this is where this bike is, like, for the street, is meant to be. Obviously, it's meant to be on a racetrack and going, fuck Jesus, that's what it really wants to do. But for your average street ride, this is where this bike loves to be. Like right now, moving at 80 miles an hour in fifth gear, I'm at 6,000 RPM, and like I'm just cruising, man. Like I'm super comfortable right now. Like this bike just cuts straight through the wind. The wind almost kind of holds you up in a way. Like you are super leaned over and committed, but the wind almost like kind of holds you up, so you don't really have too much strain on yourself when you're moving at highway speeds and faster. Where the bike kind of really starts to wear on you and gets uncomfortable, so far in my experience with it, is in town and just like the city streets, stop and go traffic, light to light. That's where the bike really gets heavy and starts to wear on you. Also, leaning this thing over is like, I mean, it's a fairly big bike. I mean, it's a leader bike, so it's a big bike. But when you're moving, like it really doesn't feel that heavy. Like honestly, like cornering and maneuvering this thing at speed, it feels really good. Again, when you're not moving this thing very quickly in town, it's a little hunky. And you can feel that weight a little bit more, and it's a little more taxing to throw side to side. But at speed, this thing loves to just lean over and hold a line very well. I feel like this goes without saying, but I'm just going to say it because there are people out there who will get this bike as a first bike. Please don't get this bike as a first bike. This is not a first bike at all, or even a second bike. Like you really gotta work up to this thing. My path to this thing, as I've said many times, was an R3, R7, MT-09, and now the R1. So and that was over the span of like 5 years. So you know, I worked up to this thing, which I think if you want to be safe, that's probably how you should do it. I can't tell you what to do. If you want to go buy an R1 or any other leader bike as your first bike and just send it, by all means, more power to you. But I don't think that's very safe. This bike is extremely powerful. Hard to really explain until you sat on it and rode on that throttle. It's a lot. I don't think this is something a first rider should get, or a second rider, like I said. And also, it's not just the power that's too much either, because I mean, you can change the power modes. I haven't messed with any of the power modes. I've only ridden it in mode A, power mode 1, which is for Yamahas. That's all the beans. That's everything the bike can give you. But other than, like I said, other than just the power, the riding position is super aggressive. And for a new rider, at least for me when I was new, even whenever I got on it, and I've been riding for 5 years, it was a lot to handle and to deal with. So for a new person, this bike can be dangerous. For an experienced person, this bike is dangerous. Let's be real. All right, since we're talking about ergonomics today, I'm going to go ahead and my back is already a little bit sore, like my lower back, and I've been riding maybe 20 minutes. and my lower back is already a little bit sore. I don't feel any soreness or pain in my wrists, my neck, my legs really right now, but my lower back is feeling it. And like I said, I try to really squeeze with my legs and engage my core so this doesn't happen, but you know, my lower back is already a little bit sore after about 20 minutes. While I'm sitting at this light, just sitting at a light, I want to talk about how it feels. Sitting upright on this thing, like in neutral, how I'm sitting right now, is really comfortable. It doesn't, I mean, it's, you know, it's like you're sitting up on a chair. And I would recommend sitting up like this in neutral at a light. Give your back a rest. Yeah. Also, something else I want to mention. Notice like where I'm sitting in the lane at a light. I see a lot of people sit like kind of right there in the center lane, like right behind people. Not the smartest idea. I try to get to one side or the other, usually the right side, to give myself a path out if I need to. So, you know, people coming up behind you don't like to pay attention, rear end you and whatnot. And not only just sitting at a light do I kind of pick one side of the lane or the other, but also like right at this, like when we're moving in traffic, like right now, like I'm kind of hugging this center line. I don't want to be in the middle of the lane because I don't want to be right behind this truck ready to slam on his brakes or something. I'm just going to kiss his bumper. And I don't want to be on the left side of this lane. Well, now it's open, but before, like there was a like you saw the curb there, so like there's nowhere for me to go. So always try to give yourself like a means of egress, and expect the unexpected, really, because I'm confident in my riding abilities and I know what I can and can't do, but you know, I can't predict what other people are going to do, and people are dumb. Notice how I also like to kind of keep my distance from the car in front of me. I'm not riding their ass. Again, so if like this car were to slam on their brakes or something and I'm right on their ass, I don't have any time or reaction to get out of the way or hit my brakes, you know. But just this distance I have right now with the speed I'm going, and again, knowing my capabilities of myself and my bike, that's big. Like, know your capabilities, know your bike's capabilities. Don't ride outside of that. So like I said earlier, this kind of riding on the R1 is not really ideal. This light to light, stop and go, behind people in slow traffic, like you really kind of start to feel the committed position of this bike, the weight of it, and all that stuff when you're doing this kind of riding with this bike. Hey, bud.
That looks so fucking uncomfortable.
It is. It's the price you pay for greatness. Alright, we're finished with lunch. Had me a exquisite burger. Now we're just going to kind of cruise, head into downtown, and then we're going to split. I'm going to head home. So even though this traffic kind of sucks for me, it's kind of good that I can kind of show this side of riding this bike as well. This is not fun at all on this bike. My neck is hurting right now from having to keep my head up. Yeah, my neck is hurting. My back kind of hurts a little bit. My butt hurts. Everything is kind of sore. Don't run into the surfboard. Just letting you guys know, I only brought one camera battery. So if the camera cuts off and dies in the middle of this ride before I can give it a decent outro or whatever, that's why, because I'm dumb. I only brought one camera battery. Not prepared. Right about now, I'm ready to get back on the interstate. My neck is getting most of this beating right now. Like, my wrists feel fine, my back doesn't really hurt, to be honest, but my neck is really feeling it. I'm not going to tell y'all what city I live in because I got to stay inconspicuous, you know, but let's see if you can guess. Back home, camera died like I thought it would, but I just wanted to give you guys a better representation of what the riding position actually looks like on this bike. So I'm swinging the leg over it. It's on a stand, obviously, but like I said, this bike is super aggressive. Feet are real tucked up underneath you. Just sitting upright, it's fairly comfortable. It's not really anything too crazy, but lean forward, just a normal riding position. You can see like how leaned over you actually are. If you're really squeezing the tank, it's not, not a whole lot of pressure on your wrist. Take your wrist on and off pretty easily. When you're down in the pocket, moving pretty quick. You are pretty leaned over. Over a long distance, this bike does get really uncomfortable. In town, like I said, really not that great. On the interstate, it's not bad. It's really not bad to ride on the interstate. For this bike, for the street, it's really made to be. Overall, really not the best street bike. I'm gonna be honest with you. Really overpowered, super aggressive, as you can see. But if you are gonna ride this bike regularly, the interstate is where it lives. If you like to ride fast, but cool doing it, and mostly put on interstate miles, this is the bike for you. If you're into super sport, I think this bike is really great for that. For me, it's a great bike. I love this bike. Wouldn't trade it for anything, but it's not for everybody. But with all that said, overall, I really enjoy this bike. Again, not the best street bike, but
it's all in kind of how you like to ride and what you view as a good street bike. As always, I appreciate all you guys watching. You guys stay safe, ride safe.